you always want to be better. Don't ever stop thinking that something is ever done. You are never done as a person, and your work is never done. It can always grow, it can always develop, and those failures or those things we didn't do very well, maybe we'll do it better next time.
Welcome to Inspired by Success, the podcast where I deep dive into the mindset of successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and thought leaders. Get ready to be inspired and gain valuable insights to unlock your true potential.
Transform your financial future with this episode sponsored by KE Financial Services.
Guys, today we're joined by an incredible voice for those who face the shadows of narcissistic abuse. She's not just a survivor, she's a storyteller, an advocate, and a woman on a mission. Meet Dana S. Diaz, a wife, mother, and author behind Grasping for Air, the Stranglehold of Narcissistic Abuse. Enduring this abuse since childhood, Dana used her journalism and psychology education to become a powerful advocate. She's the voice for those unable to speak, aiming to create awareness and healing. Her best-selling book chronicles nearly 3 decades in an abusive marriage, showcasing not just trauma, but resilience and empowerment. Dana's not stopping there, because she's also working on a prequel and sequel. Join us as we discover her path from darkness to becoming a guiding light of hope and healing. Welcome to the show, Dana.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. It's good to have you. And for those who are listening, I know this podcast is like targeting mainly CEOs and entrepreneurs and thought leaders, but I think this is very important for anyone, especially dealing with relationships in general, because we might have a narcissistic person in our life without knowing. So one of the questions I wanted to ask is, how do we know if we're becoming a narcissist? Because I don't want to become a narcissist, but you know what I mean? Like, how do we know that we're...
Yeah, nobody wants to be a narcissist. I mean, when you think about narcissists, they look like, these nice people walking on the street, but inside they're like, Chucky from the old movie running around with disheveled hair and butcher knives. No, my answer to that is that if you have to ask yourself, or even if you are worried about, being a narcissist or having narcissistic qualities, I am promising you, you're not a narcissist, because no narcissist ever thinks that there's anything wrong with them. They will actually turn around and call you the narcissist so that you worry about it, but they have no remorse. They have no accountability. They have no self-awareness. They will not go to therapy. There is nothing wrong with them. So if anybody's out there asking, am I a narcissist? Do I have these qualities? I'm telling you, that's your answer. The answer is no, you're not. If you have a heart and you care, you are not a narcissist.
Okay, that's good. Thanks for clearing that one up.
You're very welcome.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Can you share the starting point of your journey and how it shaped the person you are today?
Yes, absolutely. My journey, actually, I didn't even know it began in my childhood when my mother married a man who was not my biological father, but the only male role model I had in my life. I didn't know what a narcissist was. I only saw from my little child eyes that he seemed to manipulate people. He always was looking for personal gain, very selfish, would brag even about how he would trick people into getting this deal or tricking them out of money, just things that didn't sit right with me, because here I was going to church and going to school and even in the family being told, and taught what was right and wrong. And this man was just doing everything that I was learning was supposed to be wrong. You were supposed to be kind to people and generous and charitable and all these things. And he was just for himself. And then leaving that situation, I was physically and verbally abused by him throughout my whole childhood. So I left, as soon as I legally could at 18. And I went out into the world not realizing that I basically had been primed to be with somebody just like him. So I ended up falling for somebody that I ended up spending 25 years of my life with. We got married, we had a son, but from the moment he walked into my life, he rubbed me wrong because he reminded me so much of my abusive stepfather. I didn't know what a narcissist was then. And after experiencing multiple abuses with this man, by the end of it, I am very clear now, after 4 decades of dealing with narcissists, what they are. And these are people that basically, for whatever reason, need to feel important and they need to feel superior to everybody else. But in society, usually they come off as very humble. They come off very normal, charming, funny. They're your friends. They're the funny guy at work. They're, you ask them for a donation, they'll gladly open their wallet. But at home, usually that's where they try to find power, whether it's over their children, their spouse, whoever it is. Giving them that sense of power that they can control and dominate another human being gives them that sense of fulfillment they need for their ego. So not all narcissists are bad, but the ones that I'm talking about are the ones that will basically use and abuse other people for their personal gain. How they're created is something that's been up for debate. My theory, I think I tend to fall in sort of the nature versus nurture category, because some people do say that they are born that way. I'm not sure I buy that. I don't think there's a gene that says you're a narcissist, like there's genes for health conditions or anything. But usually the narcissists I have met in my life either come from two different childhoods. Either one, they were overpraised and over glorified by their parents to the extreme that they really do believe that they're above everybody and that they are entitled to more than everybody else and that rules don't apply to them and that sort of thing.
Wow.
Or they come from the other category of maybe they felt neglected or less than in some way in their childhood. And oftentimes they say that people that come out of abusive childhoods, like I did, will have narcissistic qualities or become narcissists themselves, just so that they have that sense of being important that they didn't have in childhood. So it can go either way, but at the end of the day, these are people that don't always harm others, but they can sometimes, and they should be, you should definitely heed some caution around them.
Very interesting, because I was going to ask about what traits causes like a narcissist, but you've just explained it to me. A question that I wanted to ask when you mentioned that, from your upbringing, you went into a narcissistic relationship. Why is that? From, you know what I mean? Like, I'm curious to know, why do people do that? I mean, you've studied psychology, but why do we go back to that type of,
yeah, absolutely.
We're used to it. I don't know. It's like I
think it's a few things. I think definitely that does play into it, that there's some, I don't want to say it's comfortable, but the unknown is scary to everybody in any situation. So I think that, there were times, in my high school that there were nice boys, that were perfectly lovely, but I didn't know what to do with that, and we all like a little bit of a bad boy, let's be real. But, I needed a little more of a bad boy to feel like it was something I was familiar with. But the other part of it too is that, my stepfather and then, the man that ended up being my husband, narcissists, to feel that sense of control and power to dominate you, they have to basically just completely diminish you. They have to completely, they hold you down, hold you back. They don't acknowledge your achievements. They dismiss you. They just, every way that they can negate who you are and your potential and your successes, they do that. So you feel very little self-esteem. You feel unworthy. You feel undeserving. So I think having grown up with that, I absolutely did go into the world looking outwardly for validation, because I didn't have any kind of respect or love for myself. I thought I needed to earn love, because as a child, if I did something that was approved of, then I would get the little treat of affection, and it was very rare. Or I would get a good job. It was very rare though. I am going to be 48 years old next month, and my mother and stepfather, neither of them have ever in my 48 years of existence told me they were proud of me.
Oh, wow.
And I was a good kid. I was always scoring very high in tests. They actually wanted to move me up 2 grades. I tested very high on IQ tests. I went to college. I played in 2 symphonic orchestras, first chair viola. I mean, I'm not saying these as brags, but there were accomplishments that I felt that as parents, they should have patted me on the back and said, good job. We're proud of you. That's great that you did this. I was always on honor roll, all these things, but it was never acknowledged. Again, they diminished it. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't important because I wasn't important. So going out into the world, how does that work with another narcissist? It's like serving me up on a silver platter, because here I am feeling diminished and lowly, ready to just do anything, for that sense of affection and a feeling of love, even if it's only here and there. And narcissists love servitude. So it was sort of creating the perfect storm.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And a question I did want to ask is, why did you stay in that relationship for so long?
Well, why does anybody stay in any relationship for so long? We all have our reasons. I could go through all mine, and I certainly will, but I think that anybody in any relationship, whether it's with a narcissist or not, you have the investment of time. He had me moved in with him very quickly, so it was also where I lived. I fell in love with his mother and father. I just adored them. They were the mother and father that I'd always wished for, and they were so good to me. I didn't want to lose that. And then as things went along, our lives are combined, and whether you're married or not, when you have a home together, and,
It's hard.
then we did get married, our finances, our child, it's not realistic to just say, oh, I'm not happy, I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
Were there times I should have? Yes. When somebody swings a crowbar at your head, yes, that's time to walk away. When somebody drains your finances and your retirement funds and your equity in your house and it's all gone, yeah, that's a big problem. When there's guns and knives and all kinds of things happening, it's time. But I didn't, because I also had my faith that played a big part of it, because once you get married, you're not supposed to get a divorce. That's what I was taught. And I felt that I knew who he was when I got into it. So I couldn't complain or, go back on that vow to stay with him, in this marriage, if he wasn't any different than who I'd married. I guess I just thought that maybe at some point he'd grow up and not be the frat boy that I married. But 25 years later, he was still a frat boy, only he was 40 some years old. And it was getting old to be with somebody careless and irresponsible and selfish and all of these things. That's not what makes a marriage.
So what point did you know that it was time to leave?
Well, sadly, it was when I got sick. And this is one of the big reasons that I speak out about toxic relationships, whether they're with a friend, in a romantic situation, in a work situation. I got very, very ill. I had about 24 random symptoms that were affecting my life. It got to the point where I couldn't even tear toilet paper off the roll. I was very weak. I dropped from, I think I was 116 pounds. I dropped down to 93 pounds within 2 weeks for no reason. That was the big red flag for me, that something was really, really wrong. And I was otherwise healthy. I was a runner. I coached cross country for 9 years. I ran 5 miles every day. I ate healthy. So there was no reason in my early 40s that I should be, having so many health issues. And the long and short of that was, after a year of tests with different specialists, all kinds of tests, you name it, neurological, cardiovascular, muscular, it turned out I had a rare lung syndrome that's similar to having COPD, the pulmonary disorder, and fibromyalgia. Mayo Clinic here in the States had tested my cortisol levels, thinking that stress played a part in my illness. And they found that my cortisol levels, that's the stress hormone, were 4 times higher what it should be at the highest point. And it had been running through me at that high rate for so long that my body thought it had to eradicate something like a virus or a cancer. So my white blood cells actually killed themselves off and made me autoimmune, which explained all these other symptoms I was having, between blurred vision and my hands would go numb. I couldn't even hold anything. My hands were useless and I could barely move. My muscles were so stiff, like a 100-year-old person. So it was alarming. I ended up with a backpack oxygen machine that I had to wear a mask just to breathe and get through every day. And I was suffering. And it took my doctor sitting me down at the end of 2019 and saying, your body is shutting down. Your body is doing everything just to keep your heart beating and your lungs breathing.
Wow.
And we can't give you a pill and we can't do a surgery. You have to change your circumstances, whatever is causing you so much stress. You have to fix it. Otherwise, there's good, you might not have a life. And watch my son grow up and
Gosh, that's
live the rest of my life. So that was the point for me. And the beautiful thing about it is that I've only been out of that relationship. The divorce happened just over 3 years ago. And almost immediately after my ex moved out, I started to get healthy again. I have put a normal weight back on. I am breathing just fine. I don't even know the last time I've used the oxygen machine. I don't have symptoms. So it is a very real thing that somebody can get sick from, whether it's work stress, stress at home, and it affects all areas of your life nonetheless.
wow. Yeah, because just I've read a lot of books about how all those thoughts and stuff and like, do you think all those thoughts, energy, negative energy can affect your body as well and make you sick? Do you think,
Oh, 100%.
yeah, do you think like you were keeping things in, keeping like you weren't releasing the negativity? Like, how did it build up so long that you became sick? Is it because you weren't setting your boundaries as well? Could there have been something you could have done better as well? Or is it just, your final thing was to move?
I think it was, yeah, it was all of those things. I mean, the reality was I was not living a life that was true to who I was. I was living the life that was dictated to me. The thing about narcissists is that they have, whether they're spoken rules or they tell you, I want you to do this or I don't want you to do that. There's all these restrictions in life with them. And again, this could be at work, this could be at home, this could be with a friend that you know what you should and shouldn't do and what you should and shouldn't say because you don't want to upset them, because if you upset them there's consequences. It just happens that with some of these narcissists they can be more abusive, so the consequences can be a little more severe than if something happens with somebody at work. But it definitely is all of that. I think when you are doing things and going through the motions of life, knowing that not just that you're not happy, but you are allowing somebody to dictate everything to you. You're not allowed to do this. You're not, well, I want to read that book. Well, if you read that book, you're not paying attention to me. Well, I went to school for journalism. I want to be a writer. Well, you don't need to do that. What do you need to do that for? You don't need to be successful. You just need to stay home and be a wife. You need to be a mother. If you are just going through the motions and you're not doing the things that that fulfill your soul and fulfill your sense of who you are, there's just something lost there. I feel like people that don't follow their true path or fulfill their true purpose, or that they deny themselves these things, because in reality it was myself denying the things that I wanted to do. It wasn't him. I was allowing him. But, you have a sense of discomfort and uneasiness. That's what unhappiness is. That's why I wasn't at peace. That's why my body was in a havoc. It was screaming out to me, that this isn't who you are. This isn't who you were meant to be. And because since I've been out of that, yeah, I'm doing what I wanted to do. And it didn't take much. All I had to do, I remember laying in, I didn't have a bed. I laid on the couch because we didn't sleep in the same bed for a long time, for many, many years. But I just said to myself one night, what do I want? And it was very easy. Like I said, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to travel. And I did want to be married. I just wanted to be married to somebody who actually liked me and to somebody who supported the things that would make me happy and the things that I wanted to do in life. And that wasn't him. It wasn't going to happen ever if I stayed with him. So once I got out and I started doing the things that I wanted to do, and not, I don't mean that in a selfish way, but the things that I had always felt that I wanted to do. I didn't go to college so that I could scrub toilets. He had me cleaning houses in his podunk town with his friend's wife. And there's nothing wrong with cleaning houses for money, but that's not what I was trying to do with my life. I didn't go to school so that I could end up in the middle of the Midwest in cornfields scrubbing people's toilets on farms. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to travel, and I wanted to write and do things for me. And now that I am doing that, again, look at my health, mentally, physically, I'm so much better. I'm even remarried. And believe it or not, I'm able to have a healthy relationship with this man, despite all the things that I went through with depression and anxiety and all this stuff that came after all that trauma. But it's definitely attributed to the fact that I was following what I felt was my authentic path in life and not living this life that somebody else wanted me to live.
That's beautiful. And in your book, Grasping for Air, delves into the cycles of trauma. How can people break free from these toxic cycles in their life?
I think it's when you realize that, like I said, I was the one that was holding myself. I had always said I couldn't leave because of him. He was holding me here. And yes, like there were restrictions, but I was the one playing into them. I was following his rules. So I talk about in the book how when I finally realized, oh, wait, I had the power in me all along to love myself enough to get out of this situation. I thought he had a collar and a leash on me like a dog, yet I was the one that put it there. I was the one that held it there. So I was also the one that could take that collar off and take the leash off and walk right out that door. And I think once you realize, you have to kind of empower yourself and just realize that they're not the ones in control. You are. And yes, did we have domestic violence? And I realize not everybody's in a safe situation, to be able to just walk out the door, and you don't want to leave without your kids or pets or whatever the situation, but you can plan and you can leave, but you have to do it. Nobody's going to convince you of it. Nobody's going to be able to help you with that. And they're certainly not going to help you because they don't want you to leave. You're serving a purpose to them. So it's all about empowering yourself and releasing yourself from the bounds that you have allowed somebody to put you in.
Beautiful. And your book, it also highlights the raw truth of emotional, psychological, and physical trauma. But how can people prioritize their mental health and well-being in their professional journeys?
In their professional journeys, I think that who we are at home kind of seeps into every other aspect of our life. And I think it's really important to be picky about who you surround yourself with, whether it's your spouse or your partner, whoever it is, or even if you're just with a roommate, even if you're alone, the people that you allow to influence you should be people that challenge you to be better. These should be people who think probably that you're a better person than who you really are, or that you're better at something than what you think you are, so that you rise to that. You get to that expectation, you get to that level. Because if you're surrounding yourself with the naysayers and the haters, and you're never this and you're never that and you're not qualified, and guess what? You are. If you apply yourself enough, you just need to be around the right people. But I think we sort of question and doubt ourselves sometimes and think that, oh, like I was maybe promoted to this position at work, but why am I here? This person is so much more capable. Or this, guess what? You were chosen because you have a quality that somebody saw in you. They saw some potential in you that gives you that edge over everybody else. And when you realize that you have something unique to offer in a position at work or in the world at large, wherever, go with it. Believe in it. Let other people believe in you until you get to that level, and take their hand and go with them. I think we're so afraid of people that have achieved more success in life. Again, whether it's in a relationship or somebody at work that's at a higher level. But imagine if you go to them and say, I want to learn from you. Hopefully they respond, favorably to that. I would like to think that together we can create more and be better. We want everybody to rise, to at least their potential, if not higher than that. And if they don't, if they say no, then they're probably, especially at work, a narcissist that wants to keep you down there because they want that title and they want that position and the income and all these other things that come with that. But I think we have to stop being so afraid of other people and ourselves and realize that we are worth so much more and we can achieve so much more than I think we even believe.
I totally agree. I mean, now as I'm getting older, like my time is valuable, and I surround myself with people. If I meet new people, I think, is my time worthy? Like I analyze things, because I see the qualities of whether or not I want to be around them, because they do say that you're the average of 5 of your top people that you hang around.
100%, 100%. And I have gotten that way too. And I have been called a few names by people, but it's not that I mean to offend or insult others, but even in my personal time, I have very, very, very little personal time. And it's, do I want to go here with these people that I know are not my people and they don't even like me and the feeling's mutual? Or can I see my grandma who I don't see very often, or my best friend, who's been ill, or whatever it is? It's about being choosier and yes, definitely spending your time with people that are going to make you better, make your time productive. And, I've had people say, well, it sounds like you use people. No, it's not about using people. It's just, it really is a matter of you are who you associate with, and who do you want to be? Because whoever it is you want to be, you need to be with those same people. They will influence you, just like the things we say and do influence little, kids, the little toddlers. They might not be able to speak or communicate very well, but everything they see and hear, they're internalizing, and we do the same thing. So we have to watch who we're around.
Exactly. And that goes for like who you're listening to as well, because like I try to surround my time with listening to podcasts that inspire me, motivate me, and they give me value as well and educate. And so that's why I love doing this podcast. I get to meet all these interesting people and learn from different perspectives, and it just keeps me engaged as well. And time is just too valuable to waste being around people or spending quality time that doesn't enhance your mind as well and bring you fulfillment as well. So, but yeah, there's some days where people, like for me, I don't watch TV. I do watch YouTube a lot,
right?
But I do have my winding down times as well, where I just watch one person who's a food review person, but that's my wind down. Other than that, I'm actually trying to always learn and just self-improve. But as someone with a journalism background, how you mentioned, how has storytelling played a role in your advocacy efforts, and what tips do you have for others looking to tell their own stories?
I think it's just a matter of telling your story the way you feel comfortable telling it and the way you do tell it. I actually was not journalism and storytelling are they're sort of two different things in a way, because, telling the stories about my life for the book were actually very challenging, because I was trained more in like news and broadcasting, which is, I hate to use the word objective because we all know it's not. You're just picking a side and finding evidence to support that, but it's still hopefully based more in fact. That's what I was trying to do, at least. So it's hard sometimes for me. It was a challenge for me to create, even though they're real life people, characters and settings and scenes, but I tell everybody it took me a while. It was a challenge, but I found the right publisher that was very patient and taught me how to do it without doing it for me. So I learned through trial and error. And so I tell everybody, if you're writing or whatever it is you do, just do it, because you have to start somewhere and you're going to learn along the way. And another thing I think people fear is failure. But let me tell you, I would die if somebody saw the first draft of my book that I sent to the publisher. It's embarrassing. It's hard even for me to read based on what we ended up putting out. And I worked very hard to get that published manuscript ready for publishing. But, you have to start somewhere. Nobody is perfect. And even now that the book is published, I just told my husband yesterday, there's so many things that I would change, or maybe I wouldn't have put that in, or I should have put that in. That's the point, I think, especially in our work situations. You always want to be better. Don't ever stop thinking that something is ever done. You are never done as a person, and your work is never done. It can always grow, it can always develop, and those failures or those things we didn't do very well, maybe we'll do it better next time. I mean, the first time I put fake lashes on, it was pretty scary, but I got there. We all have to work on whatever it is, whether it's a book or eyelashes, but you'll get there, and you have to fail, and you have to not be afraid to fail.
It's beautiful. So like in your journey, how have you seen the power of sharing your story? Has that like contributed to your healing as well?
Absolutely. For me, being a writer, as a matter of fact, when I was looking for some sort of therapy to help me with like the triggers and anxiety and things, I found writing therapy. And I had done traditional talk therapy in the past, wasn't my thing. It gave me more anxiety to know on Thursday at 3:00 I had to go talk to somebody that didn't know anything and have to spend more time giving them background information before we even got to the root, and then time was up and I'm giving them all my money. It just was, it didn't seem effective, but this writing therapy worked fast and it just provoked so much thought. I think you and I are very alike in how we think. I'm also a reader. TV doesn't do much for me either. I always am thinking how to be better, thinking about things people said, and sort of just growing from there, and just trying to be a better person and be self-aware. And I think that that's what the writing therapy did for me. But absolutely, it was healing for me, because even now that I'm writing, it's written, but I'm revising the first draft of my book about my childhood. These are things that happened 30, 40 years ago that I'm having aha moments because I'm writing them out. And as I'm reading them, there's something that actually does make you look at it a little differently when you're reading the words on a page versus the thoughts going through your mind as memories. And I'm noticing patterns, and I'm gaining more understanding about who my mother and stepfather were as people versus when I was 7 years old and they were just mom and dad and they were mean and harsh and all these things. So yeah, I think it is very helpful for people to journal, even if they don't want to write a book or write a blog. Journaling is definitely helpful just to get it out. Because again, going back to the health aspect, I think definitely that does relieve stress, even if you don't say or vent your frustrations to some other human being, just getting them out on paper. Some people do rip the paper up or burn it as sort of a ceremony to get rid of those things. But whatever it is, it gets it out of your system and you feel heard, you feel seen in a way. And that's most important.
That's beautiful. A lot of self-reflecting and awareness,
yes,
by the sounds of it, from a different perspective when you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we should all try that. Now, the voice inside of you seems to drive your purpose. How can people tap into their own inner voices to guide their decisions and their missions in life?
There's two things I will speak to on that have been very helpful to me. And one was a tool I learned in my writing therapy. And one was actually the whole premise of an entire book that I read years ago. One of the things, I'll start with what I read in the book. It's very simple. Do the next right thing. It's a simple concept, but at every point where we're unsure or we're doubting or whatever it is, we don't know what to do. It's just do the next right thing. You don't have to leap 10 steps forward. Just take the next little step. And what we call the right thing is the thing that your gut tells you to do. For example, I have to go to work for a meeting. I really don't want to go. I get nothing out of these meetings. I'm going to waste my gas, my time. I have to get up out of my pajamas and put clothes on. I don't want to do it. But if I call in, I will feel bad. If I call and say I don't feel good and I'm not coming, I will feel guilty and terrible all day long. So what's the next right thing to do? Just get up and go to the darn meeting. And then you go and then you feel better. And then you don't have this stress and anxiety and all this other stuff. And that's just a small example, but do the next right thing. The other tool that I learned was just asking, what do I want right now? And again, this is in a relationship, this is with a friend, this is with your spouse, this is at wherever you are. What do I want? If you are in the middle of a panic attack and you cannot calm down, what do I want right now? Do you want a hug? Will an ice cream cone make you happy? And I'm not making fun, but whatever it is, if you're sitting at work and maybe there's a conflict going on and you're not sure what side to take, what do I want right now? Do I want to get involved and stand up for this person, who has no justice and nobody on their side, or do I want to stay out of it because this will affect me? So balancing out the do the next right thing with what do I want, it will get you a little further without all that guilt and that shame and all these things we carry in us that we then later, they turn into regrets. You're better off just going through life, with those two little tools.
Nice and simple, effective tools.
Yeah.
Good advice there. How do you balance being a wife, mother, advocate, author, and what lessons have you learned about maintaining work? I'm that type of person that wants to do everything as well, and with so many duties. I've got a business, I've got kids, and I've got the podcast, and it's a lot.
Yes.
Seem to have do the same, like a lot of them.
Yes, I am like 24/7. My mind's always rolling. And yes, I'm like you. I will do anywhere from 1 to 5 podcasts a day. I am trying to revise 2 books right now at the same time with the publisher. And yes, being a parent and a wife and, living life. I think the most important thing that I have learned is that whatever I am doing, I need to be present in it. I used to try to, I would be with my son or my husband or at a dinner and I'm on my phone checking emails. Oh, I got a text message. Hold on. I'll be right back. This won't take long.
I do that.
I learned that there's time for everything. And, I joke, and I don't mean it to be offensive, but I joke and say, unless somebody's going to die, it can wait 5 minutes. It can wait an hour. It can even wait 2 hours. And even if somebody does die as a result, what am I going to do? I cannot revive them, So I think that once we learn that, the worst case scenario is it's going to be okay. You just have to tell yourself. So if my son is here for dinner, my phone, I don't even have it with me. I don't have my laptop because that was my other vice. I took my laptop everywhere in the kitchen. I would take it to dinner. I took it all over. I was always with me. I didn't carry a purse. I carried my laptop. But now I'm present. When my husband comes home and we're having dinner, let's say, or whatever it is, in the morning, we might have coffee together. If I don't have another commitment or whatever, my focus is on him. I am looking him in the eye. I am engaging with him, focusing on him. But now if I'm on a podcast, the rest of the world stops. If I'm writing, I close the door, I shut off my phone. I am now in writing mode. So it's just a matter of giving the time and attention, but more the focus and being present in whatever it is that I'm doing.
That's beautiful. I know that you enjoy nature because nature seems to play a significant role in your life. So how does spending time outdoors contribute to your well-being and resilience? And what advice do you have for other busy entrepreneurs to connect with nature as well?
I think that we spend so much time. I mean, even though people like you and I don't watch TV, we are always on a screen. We are on a phone. We are on a computer. Even when we read sometimes, if we don't have the actual paper book, we're reading online. And we need to experience life. I think the beautiful thing, my favorite thing in the world is when we're on vacation. And I just love walking on the beach at 5 or 6 in the morning when there's nobody out there except the 1 or 2 other random people that want to walk or jog that early in the morning. And you hear the water and you see the infinite extent of the sky and the horizon. And there's something that it's almost sounds terrible, but it makes me feel very small, but it gives me perspective. It actually grounds me, because when you think that in the scheme of the world, we are living our lives and we think that everything is so important and everything's so urgent and gotta do this and gotta do that. And in the scheme of things, at the end of our lives, when we're laying there taking our last breaths, what really matters? You know what I mean? What matters are the people that we love, the people that have loved us, the influence we've had in the world, the things that we have done. That's what matters. And I think sometimes that, whether even it's just taking a walk on your lunch break and listening to the birds and hearing the wind go through the leaves on the trees, whatever it is, look up at the sky at night. That's another thing I love doing. Is we live in the country, so there's nothing out here. It is pitch black at night, and
Stars.
and just looking up and seeing all the stars, it is the most amazing thing. But I love that feeling of perspective that I get to think, in this entire universe, I am this one minute, tiny little thing. But it motivates me too, because that means I want to make a greater impact on the important things in life. Whether, I cook that chicken correctly or get to this place on time, none of that matters. None of that matters. What matters is what I do to make other people's lives better, starting with the people in my house and then extending out into the world and on things like these podcasts.
That's beautiful. That's great mindfulness practices that everyone can use as well, just to stay grounded and focused, especially when dealing with challenges.
Yes.
So, what's the most valuable lesson you've learned that you want to pass on to our listeners?
Oh, goodness, that's a loaded question. Most valuable lesson I would say that I've learned in my life would be not to lose myself ever again. Going back to where we started, is just not giving somebody else the control. I think that I was trying so hard. I didn't know what a codependent was. I didn't realize I was even a people pleaser until I realized I was a people pleaser. But I realized once I was out of all of those situations, and once I realized what I was doing, I found all these other people that I didn't have to jump through hoops for, that they loved me and accepted me exactly how I was. Do I wish it was my mother? Do I wish it was other people? Do I wish my former marriage would have worked? Yeah, of course. But I think I blinded myself to all these other people, or to the fact that there were other people that would love me exactly for who I truly am, versus what I was trying to be to please somebody else. Because it's kind of like, if you try to force something, it's going to break. But I think that if you're just true to who you are, don't ever allow somebody else to turn you into something you're not, or that you were never meant to be. And just know that you'll be validated by yourself and by all the other people who see you for who you are and love you exactly that way.
Beautiful, very good advice, and I hope that your healing journey continues, and you progress and grow and impact more people around the world. So finally, where can people find you?
Absolutely. I direct everybody to my website, danasdiaz.com. It's DANASDIAZ.com. You can click the link to buy my book there. It's on Amazon, though. Everybody loves Amazon. Links to Facebook and Instagram are also on there, and I do post content every day. And this podcast will also be on my website with all the others that I have put on there on my press room page, if anyone wants to listen instead of read. And just follow me so you have updates for when the next 2 books come out.
Awesome, and good luck with that. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And beautiful advice.
Thank you so much.